It's time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Alexa Zepp. Alexa, I get so used to doing this show every week. It feels like I haven't talked to you in a year just because we had one week where we weren't doing the show. But we'll have a fun one for everyone this week because we're going to head on over to Aqueduct. It's the Grade 2 Cigar Mile as our feature race. So we'll go horse by horse through that. They have a really fun pick four sequence at Aqueduct with a couple of graded stakes races in there. And then we'll get to talk 2-year-olds. We'll get to look over at some horses that may be the future stars of the sport. A couple 2-year-old races at Tampa Bay Downs, and then there's one over at Los Alamitos. But Alexa, how are things going on your end? What's new with you?
It's good, great Thanksgiving, but glad to be back. And you're right, it's fairly busy on the East Coast this weekend, but something we're not going to really cover in depth today, but just to be aware of on racing on the global scale is racing is very, very big in Hong Kong. And on Sunday this weekend, they have 4 Group 1 races in something that's called the Whirlpool, which is a really innovative, kind of new initiative that actually commingles betting from multiple countries all across the world. So the betting pools are huge, which, translates to higher payouts for bettors. The prize pools are huge for those horses in those races, $3 to $5 million. So, if you're feeling bold, maybe try out some Hong Kong betting this weekend. But we're going to focus on Aqueduct over in New York with their graded stakes race and kick it off with the Grade 2 Cigar Mile.
And if you want some more help with those races, if you're following us on social media, like on X, we at DRF and DRF in Espanol will be posting a lot about that. I know our friend Roberto Rodriguez over there, he's been sending in a lot of content. So keep an eye on that. Let's make some money here so we have plenty of money in our bank accounts and our accounts to fire away on the Hong Kong races. This is a good one. This is the Grade 2 Cigar Mile. And you're going to see a lot of real quality horses in here. We'll start with the one, Alexa Buccola Dano. He's a Grade 1 winner. He will have to step up, though, and face older horses for the first time. Comes off a race where he had a little bit of trouble at Keeneland when he was the heavy favorite. He finished second, beating a neck last time out. What do you think about Buccola Dano in this spot?
Buccola Dano is so talented. He's a millionaire. He's never done worse than third. He's won 60% of his races. He likes to sit a few off the pace, but it's also just a really tactical horse that can handle multiple pace scenarios. I really do think he'll get the spotty legs. Time from US does predict him to win, but I think this is a really competitive race, and I just had to make difficult choices, so I didn't actually include him, but it's not because I have anything negative to say about him. I just like some others more.
I completely agree with you. This is the type of race where there are 6 or 7 horses who you legitimately feel like could win this race, and you can't use them all. For Alexa and me, we put up our selections. Sometimes it's top 3 or top 4. In this race, I was the exact same. I don't really have a whole lot of knocks on him. I just sort of like others a little bit more, and maybe the prices that we'll get on others a little bit more than on Buccola Dano. We move to Nelson Avenue. He's sharp. He is in really nice form right now. He's Grade 3 placed, but he will have to step up and face tougher. I think he'll probably be part of the early speed. That's where Timeform US has him projected, Alexa.
Yeah, I agree. He stepped up to that graded company last out and got second to Coastal Mission, who's also in here. I agree with you and Timeform that he's going to be setting the pace. He has that 126 early pace Timeform US rating, which is huge, but I'd be surprised if he's able to stick around and hold that position to the end.
Repo Rocks is the next one. He comes off of a kind of a non-threatening fourth. He was behind Coastal Mission and Nelson Avenue last time out. He got really good last year. It kind of reminds me of a team that had a great year last year where everything was going well for them in the middle of the year. And then the next year, you're a baseball team or a basketball team. Sometimes you win the World Series, and then the next year it just doesn't go quite as well. He's just not in as good of form right now as he was last year at the top of his game.
I agree with you. He's almost a 7-year-old gelding, so he's against a lot younger and tougher in here.
Vinsanity looks like a long shot horse who comes off kind of a disappointing effort last time out and now has to step up. Do you have anything positive about Vinsanity?
No, I don't understand why Vinsanity is in this race.
Yeah, he's in a tough spot. Mulligan, though, looks like one of the real horses to beat. Shout out to Rich, our producer, right now. I know he's smiling thinking about Mulligan. He's a Grade 1 winner. He's a multiple graded stakes winner. And when he was in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, he was actually favored, but he didn't get the normal trip, Alexa, where he shows his early speed. A lot of times when that happens to horses, they just back up. But he actually showed a new ability to come from off the pace. Yeah. I was pretty impressed with that. Even though things weren't his way, he didn't get discouraged, and he showed that he's got some fight.
Yeah, I really like Mulligan. Mulligan was one of my favorite bets on that Breeders' Cup day, and it didn't work out. But like you said, we saw something new. They're actually actually stretching him out longer than he's ever been, and he had that easy 6 furlong work to prep. So I really like Mulligan in this spot.
Yeah, and he could be the one to catch in here if he gets a good start and gets out of the gate quickly. Law Professor is just a really cool horse. He's been up and down the block for the last few years. You see him on the turf, you see him on the dirt. He's not quite as good. Maybe he doesn't have a ceiling as some of the best in here, but he's one of those horses that you might want to use in your tries and your supers because he's usually outruns his odds, and he has kind of a nice running style where I wouldn't be shocked, Alexa, if he hit the board and he were to run like third or fourth in here and maybe spice up some of the exotics. So loves Aqueduct, and he's proven at a mile. One of my personal favorite horses that I like to root for here. What do you think about Law Professor?
I completely agree with you. This is a really good long shot to use underneath. This is a niche spot for him. He loves Aqueduct. He's run here 7 times, 1-5, never off the board, and also likes this distance. So it could be a good price.
Locked comes into this race looking like a major player. Locked was actually the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year, so he was at the very tip top of the division, and then this year he was supposed to start in the Fountain of Youth. He had a knee injury that backed him up all the way to October, so he's only made one start this year, and it was a win. I think he's ready to take a big step forward now. Second start off the bench, Alexa. I feel like this is a really nice spot for Locked.
Totally agree. I mean, the fact that after a year off, he had such an impressive performance, like we can only expect him to improve.
Yep. Locked looks like one of the major players in here. Grade 1 winner last year. Pipeline will probably show some speed. The 8 Pipeline is grade 1 placed, but was actually in this race last year and in 2021. Was ninth and then was 8th. Do you think he has a shot in this year's Cigar Mile?
Not really. His figures haven't really improved since the last few times around, so I don't really think we can expect to see much different results.
Senor Buscador is another really cool horse in this race. We have some fun stories, and one of them is Senor Buscador, who starting last year was in this race, then went to the Pegasus World Cup. He was second in both of them. Then he went and won the Saudi Cup, and then was third in the Dubai World Cup. So he went on a stretch of like 4 or 5 of the biggest and most prestigious races in the world and ran really well in all of them. He comes back this year, kind of trending back into positive form. The only concern we have with him, Alexa, is just his running style. You kind of know what you're going to get from him, right? He doesn't have a whole lot of early speed. He's going to drop back and he's going to make that one late run.
Oh, he's 100% a clear-cut closer. So, I mean, that is his style. You see it on, the Time from US Pace Projector as well, that he has that late pace flag. I mean, he's won almost $13 million. This horse knows how to collect a check. And I like him a lot. I think if Mulligan doesn't, stick around, then Senor Buscador picks it up at the end.
He's a real interesting horse because he's coming off of a good effort in the Breeders' Cup. And if you just look at the 4 horses who were in front of him that day, they're really good. Sierra Leone, Fierceness, Forever Young, and Newgate. Any one of them in this race would be a major, major player. Coastal Mission is another cool horse to root for. He's a 14-time winner. He's done a lot of his work at Charlestown because he's a West Virginia bred, but he's now a grade 3 winner. Do you think he fits with this group?
He got 5th in this last year. He's a millionaire as well. He's beat some of the other opponents in here, but he's also lost to Mulligan and Senor Buscador. So I think it's going to be a tough spot. It's not an impossible ask, but a tough position to be in.
We have a couple horses in this race who were in the Breeders' Cup and who hit the board in the Breeders' Cup, and one of them was Post Time. Post Time is another one, kind of like Senor Buscador. He's a late closer. You know what you're going to get. He's remarkably consistent, though. He always hits the board. He always shows up with the late run. He just kind of needs the pace to get it, right? To get the big money.
Yeah, he's the other closer in here. I like him. He's actually my 3rd selection. It's the Russell duo. Brittany Russell's the trainer, her husband Sheldon is riding, so that's kind of fun to root for. But he's a great closer.
So this is going to go as race number 9 on Saturday over at Aqueduct. Let's take a look at the selections now. Alexa, I had a hard time even just narrowing it down to 4 because honestly, going through horses like Bookham Dano, Mulligan, Locked, Law Professor, Senor Buscador, Post Time, I honestly thought you could make a case for all of them in there. How are you going to finish up, and who do you put on top here?
I'm putting Mulligan on top, followed by Senor Buscador.
So you can see the selections there. For me, I'll go to Locked. Maybe you get a little more value there with Mulligan, and I think there are so many ways you can go underneath. As we get set for our first commercial break here, Alexa, we do have a free promotion for the folks out there. Why don't you let them know?
Yeah, we've sweetened the deal. Even better promo than usual. We're offering a free all-access PP card. So that means you get these Time from US PPs as well as our other DRF PP products, Classic and Formulator. So just scan the QR code on the screen to get access to your free card.
Aqueduct pick 4 after the break. Well, for this week, we're going to dive into the pick four at Aqueduct, the late pick four, because there are three graded stakes races in the pick four sequence. And Alexa, what's cool about these, the races that we start with, they're for 2-year-olds. So we'll get a chance to see some of these horses that might be in the Kentucky Derby next year, might be in the Kentucky Oaks next year. They have a chance to get Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks points. So let's head on out and take a look at race 7 for Aqueduct. That starts our late pick four sequence. It's the grade 2 Remsen. And in this race, we can think about the winner of last year's Remsen, who was Dornick, who came back to win the Belmont, win the Haskell. Sierra Leone was also in that race, as was Domestic Product. So we had Breeders' Cup Classic winner and another Breeders' Cup also ran in that race. It was a really strong group. Maybe one of those horses this year is Tux from the inside. It could be a very live runner. But Alexa, I'm going to start out with two of the horses that we have. We're going to go 4 deep on our pick 4. One of those is Tux, who is really nice. That was a very good win in that career debut. And then the second one is Aviator Guy. This is a horse who I think will have no problem going the mile and an eighth distance. So some of these horses may not be quite ready to go this long yet. I don't think that'll be the problem with Aviator Guy. He probably needs a little pace to chase in here, but for Tux, he'll probably be forwardly placed. Aviator Guy, I think he'll be sitting and making one late run. Why don't you tell the folks about the other two that we're going to use in the Remsen?
Yeah, we're also going to use the number 4, Studley Do Right, who won his first
Named
2
after
out.
me.
Is that right? And then he looked like he might not be all that we thought he was going to be, with a few disappointing races. But then last race they stretched him out to a mile, and he ran his best ever to win against Stakes Company. So this will be the longest he's gone. Like you said, Gino, this is a long race for 2-year-olds, but he's handled the distance so far. And then the 5, Q8 in, is the morning line favorite, heavy favorite for Chad Brown, and rightfully so. He ran a really impressive winning effort last out in his second start with the fastest figure than anybody in here has ever run. So if he improves off that, it's probably his race, and probably easily so. But, if he ends up getting a lot of pace pressure from, Tux or even Poster, then I think he could fold. So he's one that you just cannot leave off of your ticket, but we're sure going to root against him to try to get a longer priced horse in.
Hoping for a little more value there. So we'll use 4 horses to try to move through the Remsen, which is the first leg of this pick 4 sequence. We move to the second leg of the pick 4 sequence. This one's for the fillies, the 2-year-old fillies. It's the grade 2 Demoiselle. Alexa, you're going to talk about a really talented filly that we're going to use from the rail. She's no doubt the horse to beat, right?
She's absolutely the horse to beat, and the price reflects that. 4-5 favorite. Been out twice, won both by over 5 lengths, and just seemed to have more. This is a lot longer, with it being a mile and an eighth, opposed to 6.5 and 7 furlongs that she's run so far. But I honestly think that's a plus for her. I think she'll like the added distance, while others could struggle with this distance increase. So, it's also noteworthy they spent $700,000 on this filly as a yearling. So, she must be something visually quite spectacular, as well as being a daughter of a stakes winner.
Yeah, when you look at what she's done too, she defeated Next Out winner in her debut. I guess the only knock that I would have on her, it's not really a knock, it's that both of her wins, she's been able to sit just off the leader to the outside in a very comfortable position. And because she draws the rail in this race, she probably won't get that same exact trip that she's been able to get in both of her wins. So for some horses, when you have a different dynamic or when things are different, it can be a little different, but she is certainly the one to catch and certainly the one to beat in here, and they'll all have to have their be on their A game in order to get the better of her. But I think one horse that should have an opportunity to going longer and actually was visually impressive at 6.5. That was Beauty Reigns. So we're also going to use the number 8 in here, drawn towards the outside. She can sit off a little bit too if she has to. So that gives us another, if for some reason the rail draw or something happens with Muhima down inside, we have a couple opportunities in here, and Beauty Reigns will give us a little bit more value in this one. So we're going to go 2 deep with the 1 and the 8 in the second leg of the pick 4 sequence. Now we can talk about producer Rich's favorite race, the Cigar Mile. I know he loves those stogies. Why don't you recap our selections for this one, Alexa?
Yeah, we're actually using all 4 in here that we talked about earlier that we liked. Mulligan at 3-1, who will look to finish out his 4-year-old campaign with a 5-1 record, taking an early lead and fending off the rest. We'll also use the number 7, Locked, who ran his lifetime best race last out after that year-long break, and will hope to improve again off that effort. The number 9, Senor Buscador at 6-1 odds, the leading earner in here with nearly $13 million in earnings. I did not stutter.
Yeah.
He's
That's true.
it's crazy. He's a deep closer who's going to try to pick him off at the end, and then the other closer, number 11, post time, with the husband wife trainer jockey duo, Brittany and Sheldon Russell.
So we have two horses that'll be more forwardly placed in there, and then two of the horses that are going to drop way back, and they're going to be making their one late run at the end. So hopefully we get through the Cigar Mile and we get to race number 10, which is a first level allowance race. This race might have been the most tricky in the sequence because you have so many horses in here, Alexa, that I thought were evenly matched that kind of look like each other. So it'll really come down to trip. You're going to start us out with the 4. And why don't you talk about the 4 and the 7 because you like them a little bit better?
Yeah, I like the 4 commuted quite a bit. Has been improving every race and seems to be running better figures at a mile or more. Time from US projector, if you see that there, predicts him to be kind of far back at the half mile mark and then rally for a very close second finish to the 7. I am expecting and hoping him to be a little bit more forwardly placed than they think at that half mile mark. But again, close finish with the 7, which will also use Reynolds Channel. They spent $300,000 on this colt as a yearling from a sire who only stands for $5,000. He's made back a little over half of their investment so far and just has run really consistent fast numbers this summer. This is his first back out since September, and trainer Bill Mott is really good with horses off the layoff with a 22% win rate with over $2 ROI.
So a couple others that we'll use in here. Treaty Obligation, the number 6. What I like about this particular horse, this is a horse who had kind of been knocking on the door for a while, a lot of seconds and thirds, and then put it all together. Sometimes we call that the light bulb angle when a horse wins and then they come right back and they win their next start. It's like they figured things out. And this one has a little versatility there too. We'll also use Quick to Accuse, a horse who likes Aqueduct and a horse who will absolutely pass horses late. So if they go too quick, this will be a horse who can sit off the pace and who can pass. Let's take a look at the pick 4 ticket. How are we going to put it all together? I think this week we end up spending $64. Remember how you add this up. You multiply the amount of horses you use in each race. So in race 7, we use 4 horses. Race 8, we use 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Times 4 is 32. Times 4, and then you divide that by 2 because it's a 50-cent pick 4. Altogether, I know it's a lot of math. But it's pretty simple when you do it that way. And it's just a $64 pick 4 ticket. So hopefully we lead you in the right direction this week. After the break, we're going to lead you right on over to Tampa Bay Downs and Los Al Racecourse. For our final segment this week, we're going to talk about some of the 2-year-olds, some of the babies. And one of the races that we're going to talk about actually has some points for Kentucky Oaks fillies on the line. But first, let's head over to Florida. Alexa, it's the time of the year where a lot of the tracks have changed. Tampa Bay Downs has opened up. We haven't had the chance to talk about them a whole heck of a lot, but this week they have the inaugural stakes and the Sandpiper stakes. They're stakes for 2-year-olds that are sprinting, so we may get to see some of these horses in big races next year. I thought it would be fun to take a little peek over, and we take a look at Naughty Rascal. He's naughty. He's a naughty one, that little pet. I thought he's kind of interesting, but talk to us about who are some of the horses that stand out to you in this one.
Yeah, I really like Naughty Rascal a lot. He's been out 4 times, won 3 of them, including 2 stakes races. Most experienced winner in here. Has won in the slop, going short, going long on the turf. So he's just a very versatile, capable horse. There's a lot of notes about him also being bumped in his past races. So it shows us that he's got some real grit to perform so well. Another one is Donut God.
Okay, I'm a glazed crumb guy. How about for you? What done are you talking?
I'm a glazed gal.
Okay, there we go.
I will say Krispy Kreme all the way.
Beautiful.
But this horse is going to be the favorite, and you just can't really argue with him. He's been out once and wired the field with a faster speed figure than anyone's ever run in all their starts combined. And Time from Us does predict it again. So he's inexperienced, but at this short price too, it's not one I want to just lock in on because there's some other capable ones in here, and he has only been out once.
So Krispy Kreme, if you're hearing that, we're open for a sponsorship deal if you want to work on some advertising right here with us and Alexa. Tampa Bay Downs, race number 6, the inaugural. You thought Mr. Squeaky Wheels could be an interesting price.
I do think Mr. Squeaky Wheels is an interesting price. And another fun name, Lifetime Best was going short on the dirt. Then they put him on synthetic and turf and stretched him out. So, I could see him improving, kind of coming back to this surface and shorter distance. And he's got a really fast workout.
Yeah, I'm with you on Naughty Rascal. I think on the cutback we'll have more punch. This is a stakes winner going sprinting on the dirt and going long on the turf. Like super versatile for that one. Let's move to race number 8. This is the Sandpiper Stakes at Tampa Bay Downs. These are the fillies, the 2-year-olds going 6 furlongs. We just talked about the boys. These are the gals. And one of the gals in here that I think deserves top billing or billing towards the top is Paradise City, who was very good in her career debut, Alexa. And then she went a little bit longer in her second start. So we can have a legitimate excuse for her. Maybe she just didn't want to go all that far. And now she gets to cut back to a sprint.
I agree. I think that race was just a bit too long, and now they're cutting her back again. So, Time from US also gives her that late pace flag in the race.
Others to look at in here, Dancing Magic faced some really nice company as of late. The number 6 horse, she's behind horses like Echo Sound and Eclatant, the horses that we've seen running over in stakes races at Churchill Downs. So she's been in really nice form. I was joking with you before, Alexa. I always love horses that have the one name, like Andrea to the outside. Just makes me laugh. Like, hey, Andrea, you going to run a great race today? Maybe. We'll see. I don't know, Jim. What about you? Who knows? So Andrea to the outside, another major player in here. Give us some quick thoughts on the Sandpiper.
Yeah, you see the pace projector at the end. It really thinks the 6 and the 9 are going to be right there. And I really like Andrea. Been out 3 times, won the first 2, including Hollandale Beach Stakes, where she wired the field and won by almost 8 lengths. I think if she does get the lead, she has a really big chance at wiring this field here. There's not an overwhelming amount of pace pressure in here, and she does get that outside post. But they at this track for this distance, they start right at the end of that clubhouse turn, so she has the entire backstretch to kind of get in position.
What's amazing with technology, Alexa, we're going to go from Florida. We're going to jump in the car, and within about 5 seconds, we're going to head all the way over to Los Alamitos. We're going to be in Orange County in California, and we're going to jump to the Los Al Starlet for 2-year-old fillies going a mile and a 16th in here. The last edition of the Los Al Starlet, this race was actually at Hollywood Park. It used to be run there. I actually interviewed Bob Baffert post-race when he won that race with streaming. He's actually won 7 in a row of these races, 10 overall. He's trying to win his 8th straight. He has 3 horses in here, but they're all going to have to work in order to beat this one. Alexa, Vodka with the Twist. This was a price play that you and I liked in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. She ran a great race when she finished second that day.
Yeah, I really like Vodka with a Twist. Absolutely the class of the field. She's been running against tougher, like you said, and just missing. So this should be a really good spot for her to get back into the winner's circle.
Makes me feel old when that race I interviewed Bob Baffert was 2013. It's like, wow, that was already like 11 years ago. I'm getting the grays coming in right now. Look Forward is a player in here. Tenma could get a setup. But anything else you want to mention about the Starlet?
Really just Look Forward is the other one I like to keep an eye on in here. Maybe Nooney, who kind of ran a bad effort out in the Breeders' Cup, and I think could do something coming back here. But mainly Look Forward and Vodka.
And that was actually the final winner for trainer Ben Cecil, who recently passed away. Some very sad news and moves into another barn. So for all of you out there playing the races this week, we wish you the best of luck. And Alexa, they can get some free all-access PPs, right?
Yep, just scan the QR code on the screen and get all access PPs, so you get to try all the products, Time from US, Formulator, DRF Classic. So scan the QR code to try it out.
We'll be back next week with another edition of the Weekend Preview. Good luck.